Hey, it's Larry. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year. Real quick, before we get into this episode, I had such an amazing, eye-opening, life-changing experience at the World Parkinson Congress in Kyoto that I want others to have that opportunity too. So Becca Miller and I and 24 of our PD community friends have launched a year-long WPC travel grant fundraiser. We're each doing a 2-week Facebook fundraiser. Mine's underway right now because my birthday's January 9th. All the money raised will be used to help offset travel costs so more people with young onset Parkinson's can attend the next WPC in Barcelona in 2022. You can search out details on the When Life Gives You Parkinson's Facebook page or donate directly to the WPC website. Go to WPC2022.org/YOPD fund. If you or your business would like to supply matching funds, hey, good on ya. Email me at parkinsonspod@curiouscast.ca. And now, on with the show. Hi, konnichiwa. I'm Larry Gifford. I have Parkinson's disease, and I'm going to the World Parkinson Congress. This is WPC 2019, the official podcast for the 5th World Parkinson Congress. The event's being held June 4th through 7th, 2019 in Kyoto, Japan. This podcast is created in collaboration with World Parkinson Coalition and my other podcast, When Life Gives You Parkinson's. Each episode, we will explore some of the topics that will be addressed at the event and chat with speakers lined up for this year's WPC. Dr. Matt Farrer is a professor of medical genetics at the University of British Columbia. He's made several influential discoveries in neurogenetics and is critically acclaimed for his work on the genetics of Parkinson's disease. I invited Matt, he prefers Matt, into the studio for a chat. You ready?
Yeah, okay.
I say Parkinson's disease, you say...
Movement disorder.
I say genetics, you say...
LRRK2.
Oh, LRRK2, okay. We'll get into that a little later. I say Kyoto, you say...
World Parkinson's Congress.
And I say World Parkinson Congress, you say...
2019, June this year.
Are you excited?
I'm excited, yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And very educational.
Well, you are a geneticist. You're hunting for genetic connections to Parkinson's. Full disclosure, you've mapped my genome. Nothing to say here, just smile big if my genome was the most impressive you've ever come across.
It's impressive.
I still hear the question quite often, is Parkinson's a genetic condition? Is there a clear-cut answer to that?
Yes. It's not a genetic condition. It's everything in biology, everything that's human, anything that lives has a genetic component, and the genetic component in Parkinson's disease is 27%.
Okay. So there you go. So in those cases, how is it passed along? Is it from the dad? Is it from the mom? Do we know? Is it?
Yeah. So the 27% is in aggregate, in total. That's the variability in the condition that can be attributed to a genetic cause. Okay, so most people don't have a clear-cut pattern of inheritance down the family line from their parents to them, for example. That happens sometimes, but those families are pretty rare. Mm-hmm. For the most part, it's a constellation of many genes, several hundred, working together in concert with exposures from the environment and with age as well.
Okay. So how many connections have you found?
The team and I have mapped some of the largest genetic contributions to the disease, probably about half a dozen, maybe as many as a dozen genes for Parkinsonism.
Okay, and how many are there?
In total, again, it's a difficult number to pin down. It depends how you define it, but there's about 70 genes for Mendelian forms of disease, where you can see it traveling down the family line, for different types of Parkinsonism. So it's not all garden variety, typical late onset Parkinson's disease. There's some early onset forms. And there's about 210 genes that are risk factors and about 40 non-coding RNAs. So in total, maybe 300 and a little over 300.
Oh, okay. So that's a lot.
That's a lot.
More than most people probably think.
Oh, yeah.
So what motivates you to keep doing this? Why are you looking into the genetics of it?
Because it gives us unequivocal answers. It tells us exactly what the issue is from a molecular point of view, down to a single amino acid in a single protein. We can then go from that to understand what that protein is doing in a cell and what that cell is doing in a brain, and how the mutation that we've described or discovered basically leads to disease. It's it gives us a very specific and, like I say, unequivocal answer.
And then once you have that answer, do you believe that at some point you'll be able to create a cure based on the knowledge you get from genetic research?
The whole goal is to predict and prevent. So cure is a difficult term, right?
Yeah.
Prevent. I would like to prevent symptoms from progressing. I would like to slow down or halt the disease in people who already have a diagnosis. I would like to prevent it in subjects who may be destined, for example, because of their genetics to get the condition. I like to prevent it in those people. But to cure it implies that somebody already has the disease and I can make that go away. I don't think that will be possible.
When we mapped my genome, it came back, I thought you said unremarkable is what the term you used. And that's just pure potential because you're putting all that data into a universal database. And over the course of time, it may reveal some connections, but right now it doesn't. Is that true?
That's very much the case, yeah. So your genome stays relatively static. The sequences of A's, G's, C's, and T's that you're born with are the sequence you have now. And what's changing is our understanding of what that information means. And every day that a new person is sequenced, has their genome sequenced, and that's linked to some characteristic that they might have, how tall they are, for example, that information becomes enriched if that information is shared. So what we're doing is basically looking at your genetic code and correlating it with those findings as more and more genetic codes become public information, if you like, online.
Yeah, so people were like, "Oh, were you disappointed you didn't find anything?" I'm like, "Well, no. Like for me, I'm participating in research, as many people in the Parkinson's community are, because we want to help Parkinson's into the future. And if we can plant a seed that has a potential of bearing some fruit 5 or 10 or 15 years from now, I've done my job."
Yeah, so most people understanding, and including my own, is relatively simplistic. We have 20,390 genes, and there's a reason we have 20,000 of them. It's because they're working together. Many of them are working together in different tissues in our body, and they have to be working optimally for us to age successfully. And so having a single gene that predisposes to a condition like Parkinson's disease is a very rare instance. More often than not, it's many genes working together. And to understand that, to find those, we need many, 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 many people to take part. It's an exponent of the number of genes that we think are playing a role.
Universally, is there some hesitancy with people giving access to their DNA? Are they afraid people are going to steal their identity, or they're going to use it against them for health insurance or those types of things?
There's a lot of sensitivity about privacy, confidentiality, how the information might be used. It might be an issue with life insurance. It might be an issue with medical insurance. There's a lot of hesitancy around that, and I think as long as the safeguards are in place, that the information is used in a professional way, in an ethically responsible way, where the information is anonymized or de-identified at the very least. Your genome is available to others, Larry, but only in aggregate.
Right.
They can't clone you and make another. No one can make another Larry.
I am unique.
You are that.
You mentioned LRRK2 when we first started. At WPC, you're hosting a roundtable and speaking, and in both events the title is New Insights into the Function of LRRK2 from a Genetic Point of View. LRRK2 is what?
LRRK2 is the name of a gene. It stands for leucine-rich repeat kinase 2. So,
LRRK2.
LRRK2, that's right.
And what can people expect if they attend your speech?
Well, I'm going to try and make it as accessible as possible to everybody, but it'll be a bit of a potted history of where LRRK2 came from.
It'll be a little wonky, though. It's not going to be for everybody.
There'll be parts that will be challenging for
I mean, you're a nice guy and all, but I got to say that there's moments where I'm like, Matt, I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah, sometimes it's a problem for my wife as well.
But that's why they have different tracks at the WPC. So
that's right.
if you don't have that research scientific genetic brain where you can like understand all that, if you've not been trained in that, there's other options. But what everybody needs to do is come up and say hi because you're just an awesome guy.
Yeah, that's true. Undeniably. And not to be intimidated by esoteric terms, strange language. I mean, don't be intimidated by it. Everyone's coming to Kyoto anyway. It's a strange place for many, but it's a wonderful place. Get immersed in it.
Well, let's talk about that. You've been to Kyoto a number of times. What do you love about it?
I love the contradictions in a sense that you'll have somebody's domestic residence, and beside that you'll have a 1,000-year-old temple, and beside that you'll have a small kind of household but electronics factory, and beside that you'll have another 1,000-year-old temple, and this mixture of old, very very old, and new together is quite amazing.
What do you recommend people who've never been to Kyoto do when they go?
Take time and visit some of the temples. There are thousands. Visit some of the temples and just take time. Drink some hibiscus blossom tea. That's always a good one.
Okay.
And just relax, enjoy the atmosphere. It's a remarkable place. It's a remarkable place.
And so we're going to be in this remarkable place for the World Parkinson Congress. What do you like about the World Parkinson Congress? Why do you keep coming back?
It's engaging. It's engaging for all people from all walks of life. So it's a forum for professionals. So many of my colleagues go, and it's a great chance for me to catch up with them. And they want to learn the latest advances. It's a forum for the public to go, just to learn about how medicine is changing and reacting to all this new information, whether it's from genetic sequencing or whether it's from AI, artificial intelligence, or whether it's from whatever the breakthroughs are in whatever the area of science. So, and it's a place where patients go too. It keeps it real. I like to think it keeps it real. Everybody realizes they're on a mission when they go. And it makes it mission focused.
So somebody who's never been to the WPC, I've never been. I was diagnosed after the last one. What should I expect from your point of view?
I think it'd be rather overwhelming, probably. There's an awful lot going on, and a lot of it's concurrent at the same time. And you'll be rather overwhelmed with what to go to and who to listen to, and you may not know. You maybe think to yourself, which session should I go to? Which one would be best for me? What do I want to learn? And that may be the most challenging part.
Okay.
So I'd suggest you do some homework before you go. The program is available. It's online. I'd have a look at that. I'd navigate a course through it, theoretically speaking.
Right.
And then when you get there, forget all about that and just enjoy the experience, because I think it's really the interactions. I don't think it's going to be the lectures that are going to be the take home. It's going to be the interactions you have with other people, whether they're public, patients, or professionals. Yeah,
the relationships you build while you're there, the hallway conversations,
absolutely,
having a tea with somebody and just getting to know them. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that's the best part of any conference, right?
Yeah, it's going to be very memorable.
Matt, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you in Kyoto.
It's going to be fun.
See you there. In Sweden, there's a magazine called Focus. It's like Sweden's Time magazine. Focus's 2018 Swede of the Year in Medicine was Sarah Rigger. She also has Parkinson's.
So my journey with Parkinson's began in about 1984 when I was 13 years old. And I noticed that my feet wouldn't tap in rhythm, in sync with the music I was hearing.
Mm.
So I noticed that my body didn't behave the way I expected it to. And that, of course, I didn't think Parkinson's at that time. Of course, I didn't even think, I just, as any teenager, I just wanted to be like my friends. I didn't want to be sort of different in any way. So I just didn't acknowledge it at all.
You know what's interesting, Sarah? Now that you say that, I was in choir in high school, and I couldn't keep rhythm. So if I had a solo, somebody had to tap my foot so I could feel the beat. And I'm wondering now, looking back on, wait a second.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry to have to brought that up in your head, but still, there you go.
So when did the diagnosis come?
In fact, I wasn't correctly diagnosed until 2003.
Whoa. That's a long time.
That is 18 or so years. Yeah, 18, 20. Yeah, so it's a long time.
So do you see that as a benefit, not knowing that there was a label for it, or did that?
Yeah,
was that
I think that if I had been diagnosed with Parkinson's in my teens or in my early 20s or something, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be doing all the stuff I'm doing. I wouldn't have tried to do a lot of the things I did try to do, because I didn't know that wouldn't be expected to be able to do them. So I did them anyway.
So you went in. You became an engineer for a while.
I am an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer, and that was a challenge. I mean, doing the lab work and stuff during education was quite a challenge with the rigid hands and bad balance and stuff. But it worked pretty well.
And then you returned to school, right, for a PhD?
10 years ago, I decided that I wanted to combine my patient experiences with my engineering skills and try to improve things for myself and others with chronic diseases. So I figured I could maybe go into and be a sort of like an interpreter between researchers and patients in Parkinson's. So of course, I was my natural thought, and then I found a master's program at the Karolinska Institute here in Stockholm, where I applied to, and a master's program in health informatics. So I started studying there, and a couple of years into that, or a few years in, I became a PhD student.
And you're researching digital self-care for Parkinson's, correct?
That's what I call it, yes.
Okay, so how do you define digital self-care?
So I see it as making use of the possibilities of technology and the World Wide Web and what we have around us digital, but not only sort of measuring stuff like sensors and stuff, but also the knowledge we can find and that we can access through the web, and how we can make sense and understand that, how we can use that knowledge in our own contexts. So that's a very long. It's not really a definition; it's more a description. But
right.
it's a broad concept, in my opinion.
How has it benefited you?
So I wouldn't be as well as I am in my Parkinson's if I hadn't done all this work. For sure, there's no doubt in my mind about that. Could I have done more? Maybe, but I actually don't think so. To me, having been able to devote all this time and all this energy and effort to finding ways to make use of knowledge for myself and others has been really, really valuable for me.
So you are self-described as an impatient as opposed to a patient.
Definitely.
Why did you decide to take matters into your own hands?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I saw it as specific as that. I think I just saw it as an exploration. What could happen if I try to do this, or what can I learn from doing this? What really was key was the first time I used a finger tapping test to evaluate my medication effect. Mm-hmm. So we know that Parkinson's gives us slow movements, right? That's even if I don't have the tremor that is so typical for Parkinson's, which made it probably more difficult to diagnose me correctly. But all Parkinsons have the slowness of movement. So one measure that can be used is then sort of finger. We can see it in the neurology test as well, where they see how fast we move our fingers. But of course, that can be measured also more or less objectively by using tapping on a screen of a smartphone. And I did that just to explore things, to see what I could learn from it. And that turned out to be some sort of stroke of genius, even though I didn't realize it at the time, because that was sort of the starting point of my learning about my own condition. From doing that, I learned to observe my body more consciously, and I think I'm more attuned to the functions of how my body works and how the medication affects it.
So, in essence, you have set out to be the world's leading expert in your Parkinson's.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all are.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's empowering. I read somewhere where you mentioned you only see a neurologist once or twice a year, and the rest of the time you're kind of on your own. So, how do you take this information and share it with your team?
Yeah, so that's an important question, and I might add that I see my team as not only consisting of healthcare professionals, but also my fellow patients, my fellow Parkies.
Sure.
And I try to share methods with them more than, because I mean my fellow patients are not interested in hearing about my exact sort of minute of timing of medication, but more of learning how did I come up with that, and how so more on the method side than on the specific sort of data.
Right.
And I'm happy to share that with anyone who's interested, and also with my medical team, of course. But the medical team has limitations in terms of bandwidth, if you may, because I mean they don't have a lot of time for each meeting. So I need to make sure to package the information I want to share with them in the best way I can to make it easy for them. So that's part of it as well, definitely.
So let's say, do you, in gathering this information, are you keeping a journal? Do you have a spreadsheet?
Yeah, so neither, or more a spreadsheet. So what I do nowadays when I sort of want to keep track of something, I use a Google Doc.
Okay.
So I don't use all the notes I make, but I know where I have them if I need to go back and check.
Sure. So if I hacked into your phone right now, are there like certain apps and bookmarks and stuff that are all related to Parkinson's that I'd see there?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I've tried all the Parkinson's apps out there over time.
Okay, so give me one or two that you really you recommend to folks.
I wish I could, but I don't think any of them are really up to speed to what I want from an app. So
interesting. That's a challenge to the world.
Yeah, if they want to take it as a challenge, sure. But the thing is, so the apps I use most, Parkinson's related, are Google Forms and Facebook. Because that's where I get both structured and unstructured information flows of Parkinson's related information, and Twitter for that matter as well in some extent. And also in groups on Facebook where I know that the information is Parkinson specific.
Okay, so if you could have somebody design a great app for you as it relates to Parkinson's, what are the features that you're looking for that you're not getting?
Access to research papers.
Oh, yeah.
And research data, results from studies, which no one has access to. But you said to wish for something.
Well, why not, right? Let's make it happen. We're as much in control as anybody else, right?
Yeah, we can do it.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, why not?
What advice would you give others with Parkinson's who want to take more control of their self-care?
Don't be afraid to be a troublesome patient with your medical team.
Yes, stir the pot.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, don't sort of alienate them, because that doesn't help anyone. But don't be afraid to engage in complicated discussions with them, because it's your life and you're the one who needs to be in control, and you need to be equipped with the knowledge you need to be that to find control.
Well, and I also find that at least my team, they appreciate it when I speak to them as an equal as opposed to with reverence. Like I'm just looking for answers and I want solutions, and and so I make them speak at my level. Like if they're speaking over my head, I'm like, okay, you gotta, maybe I don't understand something. Let's take it down a level. What are you telling me? And I think that's really important. We need to be in control of ourselves and not just say, well, the doctors will take care of it.
Yeah, no, that won't happen, unfortunately. And what I found was over time, when I became more and more sort of knowledgeable and active as a patient, and reading research studies and engaging in discussions online, I found that I could engage in more high-level discussions with my neurologist on these one or two times I went to see him every year.
Yeah.
Which meant that hour per year actually gave me more in terms of for the rest of the year compared to when I wasn't able to be as engaged.
Right. I find that when I have that time with my neurologist, I need to prepare for what I want to get out of that session versus just showing up and saying, what do you want from me?
Yeah, exactly. No, be prepared. Be well-read in terms of know what's out there, know what you can expect.
You've been the ambassador at the last 2 World Parkinson Congresses. You're co-chairing the Patients Advocates Committee for WPC 2019 with our friend Tim Hague, who was on the last episode of this podcast. Mm-hmm. He says he's going to pack everything he needs in a carry-on, which I think is ridiculous.
I agree with you.
You've been to the last 3 World Parkinson Congress. What advice do you have for people that, like me, who've never been? What do I need to do to prepare?
Pack good shoes.
Oh, good. That you're the first person to tell me that. That's important.
There will be a lot of walking going on, and there will be a lot of long corridors to go up and down. So good shoes is essential. Another thing which I found by really not wanting to know, but the importance of having extra medication.
Oh, yeah.
Both when traveling. So I know that the advice, I think it's based on my experience from 2010 when the volcano eruption hit Europe from Iceland, and I was stuck in London with my family with I regret to say it, but not enough medication to last, because we were supposed to be over a long weekend only. Oh. So my advice is pack at least 3 complete sets of medication for the journey in 3 separate bags for sort of to have enough if something goes wrong and if a bag gets lost or something. So
yeah, I think the advice is have 1 on your person, have 1 in your luggage, and have 1 with the person you're traveling with.
Yeah, that is sound advice. But also another important thing for really making the most out of the Congress is don't feel obliged to go to sessions if you have sort of met someone that you want to talk more to. So the people you meet are, I would say, more important than the science. But of course, we meet over the science. Sure. So, I mean, there's a balance there. But I would say 50% is the content, 50% is the people coming to the same place.
Oh, okay. I want to make people aware there's a pre-Congress course on activism, awareness, and roles patients play. And I think that's going to be a really great workshop. I'm going to be there, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and a colleague of mine will be there from the Karolinska Institute, who I've been working and doing research with, 2%, and also my partners in crime from the Parkinson Research Interest Group on Facebook, which is a group for high-level discussions on research in Parkinson's, and we're proud and happy to have both very, very knowledgeable patients on board, and also a number of the world's leading researchers in Parkinson's are active members contributing to the group.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for your time and for all the work you're doing, all the advocacy you're doing, and empowering all of us here in the Parkinson's community to do more for ourselves.
And thank you for spreading the word.
Each episode of WPC 2019, I'm going to provide a Kyoto life hack, a tip, a cultural insight, etiquette advice, language lessons. It's an extra dosage travel guide to get us all better prepared for our trek in June. None of us want to offend anyone or be embarrassed. So James Heron, the executive director of the Japanese-Canadian Cultural Center, has agreed to join us each episode. He's going to teach us a word or a phrase and provide some insight into the culture that we can expect. James, let's start with the word or phrase of the week.
Well, when you're sitting down to eat, or just before you eat, Japanese people would say itadakimasu.
Ikadakamas.
Itadakimasu. Yeah.
Itadakimasu.
Exactly. And it doesn't really translate into anything other than sort of I am about to receive or partake. Maybe the equivalent of saying, bon appetit or something like that.
Oh, very good. You do that every time you're going to eat?
Yes. Yeah.
Itadakimasu.
Exactly. When you do go to eat, particularly if you're going to a more traditional type of a restaurant or something like that, it's probably best to allow your hosts to seat you, because in Japanese restaurants, often seating is based on rank. So you don't. It's best to let the Japanese tell you the best place to sit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then when you sit down, of course, you're faced with chopsticks. If you don't know how to use them, do your best to learn them before you go. But if you have any issues, the Japanese will be happy to provide you with a spoon or a fork. Whatever is required. And the important thing with chopsticks is not to stick them upright in your rice, because that is something that is actually part of the funeral ritual.
Oh,
so to do that at a dinner party is quite inappropriate. Also, you should never pass food with chopsticks. That also is part of the funeral ritual.
so like if I wanted to share some sushi with my wife, I wouldn't use my chopsticks to put it on her plate.
Well, you could do that, but you wouldn't want to have her take something with her chopsticks from yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Often, too, if you're using a kind of a communal dish, people will sometimes turn around their chopsticks and use the end that hasn't gone into your mouth for picking up something from a communal dish. Again,
that's a good
just
idea.
seen as more hygienic.
Yeah.
In Japan, particularly when you're eating noodles, it's okay to slurp and make noise.
Oh, good. Finally.
You don't have to, but certainly don't judge your Japanese hosts as having poor manners if they're slurping. It's just considered it shows that they're enjoying the meal, and it's also thought that bringing a little air in with the noodles helps to bring out the taste.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like when they do wine tasting, they try to get air into it.
Yeah. The other thing that maybe worth pointing out is sushi is it can be eaten with chopsticks, but it's also often a hand food, so you can eat sushi with your hands.
Oh, okay.
And Japanese tend to, if you're the part that you're going to dip into the soy sauce, you should dip the actual fish portion as opposed to the rice portion in. So you sort of almost have to turn over the sushi. The Japanese don't pour soy sauce on anything, on the rice or on sushi. It's usually things are dipped into the soy sauce.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to need to work on my soy sauce habits. Thanks, James. We'll be sure to post these words, pronunciations, and cultural insights on the show notes. From Curious Cast and the World Parkinson Coalition, this is WPC 2019. Special thanks to Matt Farrer and Sarah Rigger, who serve the Parkinson's community, and James Heron, all of whom joined us today. Visit WPC2019.org to learn about the upcoming 5th World Parkinson Congress, a global Parkinson's event that opens its doors to all members of the Parkinson's community, including those of us living with the disease. Follow WPC on Twitter at WorldPD If you'd like to help spread the word about this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for free. Search WPC 2019 and When Life Gives You Parkinson's. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you get your streaming audio. You can also listen at curiouscast.ca and WPC2019.org. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look up at Parkinson's Pod or email parkinsonspod@curiouscast.ca. WPC 2019 is written and produced by me, Larry Gifford. Dila Velazquez is our story producer, and sound design by Rob Johnston. I look forward to seeing you in Kyoto. Matashita.
Canada may be known for its landscapes and friendly people, but beneath the surface lies a darker side of crime, history, and the paranormal. Since 2017, the award-winning Dark Poutine podcast has explored the shadowy corners of the Great White North and beyond, delivering chilling tales from a uniquely Canadian perspective. Hosted by Mike Brown and Matthew Stockton with over 300 episodes and fresh releases every Monday, Dark Poutine is your weekly ticket to the creepier side of Canada. Listen to Dark Poutine on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.